Hi, and welcome to Reading Between the Lines. I am your host, the Water Dog, and today I'm going to be doing our final episode on the One Vampire Crypt. We have been concentrating on the 8-cap vampire. We've been looking at cards that goes to help you play with this philosophy and this strategy, and we're going to continue with that with our last episode. Today we're going to be looking at some event cards, and then we're going to break down 3 vampires for you very quickly. So let's get started. Our first event card is Dr. Marissa Fletcher, CDC, government card. During your unlock phase, add 2 counters to this card from the blood bank. When a vampire with capacity less than X is blocked while hunting, where X is the number of counters on this card, burn that vampire and all the counters on this card. Really, really good card, okay? So what you're looking at is you're looking at the card build with the counters, and so that when you are doing damage in combat and stuff like that to, your prey, your predators, vampires, all of a sudden, if they have to hunt, if they are being forced to hunt, okay, well, now they're just being burnt. So it's just a way to get rid of vampires, it's just another strategy to just destroy vampires, and so I really, really love it in this format, okay? The thing about it is you got to remember now, you don't want your vampire to have to hunt, and so you're going to want to be able to do things by keeping blood on it. So it does keep your predator and prey on their toes. And so what's good about that is now they may not want to block specific actions that you are taking, okay? Maybe they want to avoid things as much as possible because they don't want to get into the state to where they have to hunt, okay? So she's really good at that. So it's a good fun card to kind of put in there just to, to try to get rid of a vampire off the board. Our next event is Hunger Moon. If a vampire successfully hunts, move 1 blood from that vampire to this card after resolution. Burn this card if it has 5 blood. So you're hurting your predator prey's vampires by not really allowing them to hunt, okay? And so they can't really hunt. So if they do hunt, the blood they get is going to go to this card, and so you're forcing them so that they can't take actions, because if you're beating them down and you're hurting them and so forth and so on, basically they can't take any action. They're going to have to repeat, because if they hunt, they're going to have to. If you got 0 blood, you're going to have to hunt no matter what, right? So now that you're hunting, you're going to gain nothing from that hunt. And so the next turn, you're going to have to hunt again. So what you've done is you've crippled those vampires, okay? And so that helps you, especially when you're playing, this one vampire crypt. So anything that you could do to slow down your opponents and keep them, at bay, where you've got everything geared towards one, helps you, and Hunger Moon does that for you. Our next card, Econo Tutelich. Okay. Icano, a Methuselah may spend 4 transfers and remove a vampire in his or her uncontrolled region from the game to search for any card in his or her library and put it into his or her hand, discarding and shuffling afterward. This is a must include for all of these types of decks. So if you're doing this one vampire crypt thing, this is a must include for me. And I usually put somewhere in the neighborhood of 2 or 3 in the deck to make sure that I hit it early, because what I like about it is it allows me now to get win conditions. And the beautiful thing is because you're playing with just one vampire, that means you've got 3 vampires set up in your uncontrolled region to allow you to search for cards. Your opponents, on the other hand, will not be able to take the full advantage of this. Now they might, okay, because people do play with multiple copies of vampires. But typically speaking, if they do, they're probably going to be able to use it once, at best twice, okay? Because they're going to try to be getting other vampires out of their crypts, okay? You, on the other hand, you're only playing with one, and so therefore you can utilize this card a whole lot. So this is a really good card for this philosophy. Our next card, NRA Pack. Government. Any minion who successfully performs an equip action unlocks at the end of the turn. So if you're going to play equipment, you're going to play your ivory bows and Singar daggers and stuff like that, okay? You're going to play with your flamethrowers, whatever, okay? You're going to be able to simply unlock as soon as you equip. Just a great unlock card. So if you're playing an equipping vampire, just unlock and go. NRA. As Denny Crane from Boston Legal would say, lock and load. That's what you do. I love Denny Crane. It's a great show. If you've never seen Boston Legal with William Shatner and James Spader, it's a really, really good show. Our next card, NSA Trio, Government. During the first combat between an acting vampire and a blocking vampire each turn, neither combatant may end combat as a strike in the first round. A Methuselah may use a discard action to burn this card if his or her minions attempted no actions in the current turn. Okay, so what's good about this card is that now your Predator and Prey's vampires cannot end combat as a strike. They can't do it, particularly in the first round. Okay, so what it allows you to do is it allows you to just go out and beat the crap out of them. So that combat ends cards that they've got, that Majesty, okay, it's no longer going to work. It's done. Okay, NSA Trio does that. Okay, and if they want to get rid of it because they're scared of your vampire, their minions are going to not be able to take an action, okay, for a turn. So it slows them down if they want to get rid of this card. Okay, so it's a good card. It's good for beating down other vampires. Our next event, Scourge of the Enochians. During your discard phase, you can burn a vampire with capacity 2 or less, and your Predator takes control of this card, even if you do not burn a vampire. All right, this is a great card for getting rid of the weenie deck. That's exactly what it is. You put it in there to get rid of the weenies. Okay, this gets rid of all those 1 and 2 cap vampires that are going to cause you problems. This also gets rid of Embraced. Okay, I've had it played against me before, so typically speaking, I'm going to try to find a way, to solve that problem if I'm going to play with Embraced. But Scourge of the Enochians is just really good. I like to stick, 2 or 3 in a deck if I'm going to use this card to make, because if I'm going to play this card, I want to make sure I hit it. Okay, so I'm going to stick about 2 or 3 into the deck to make sure that I, have it hit the table. And once again, this is to protect me from the small vampires. This is exactly what it does. And, it just gets rid of that. So it solved that problem for you. It's a good card for that and just breaks down those weenie decks very quickly. Our last event card is White Knight's Massacre, Transient. During your next discard phase, you must burn this card, and you may either burn a vampire in Topor, or by locking a ready werewolf ally you control, or discarding a White Knight's Massacre from your hand, burn all vampires in Torpor. So what you're doing is you're just eliminating vampires, because if you've got a good combat deck and you've got an Ocean in play, you just go out and put vampires in Topor, and then you just White Knight's Massacre, and you avoid the whole Diablerie blood hunt scenario. You just simply say, this is what we've got. So you stick a handful of these into your deck, and you go with it, and just, we're going to play White Knight's Massacre. We're going to go out and we're going to put vampires in Topor, and then we're going to then burn them. Okay, and so the combination of using a werewolf, and Ocean is the best because he doesn't require any clans or disciplines to bring him into play. Good werewolf ally, and then you use your White Knight's Massacre, and you go with it from there. So good card. All right, let's look at some vampires. Our first one we're going to look at is Anatoly, Prophet of Gehenna, Camarilla. If Anatoly is ready during your master phase, you may look at the top 5 cards of your library, and then shuffle the top 5 cards of your library plus 1 intercept. You've got Inferior Dominate, Inferior Fortitude, Superior Aspects, Superior Dimitation, Superior Obfuscate. All right, this guy's just got a lot of things going on for him. He's just a really, 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 really good vampire. So let's start with that first ability. The ability, once again, to reorganize your hand to hand cycle is very, very important, and you're going to get this automatically, during your master phase. Okay, you can look at those top 5 cards, shuffle, those cards, and then try to hit something that's a little bit better. So it's really, really good with that. Then, of course, when you look at his abilities, he is a bleeding machine because you've got the Superior Obfuscate and Dimitation. Okay, so you're going to be able to do a lot of fun bleeding. With the Fortitude, you're going to be able to unlock, and then with the Aspects, and with the Dominate, you're going to be able to bounce bleed And so he's just really good. This, once again, this is just a good bleeding machine vampire. Don't forget, you've got that +1 intercept. So especially when you're getting heads up and you have to stop actions, okay, he can stop the actions, okay. All righty. With fortitude, you got yourself a little bit of protection, okay. uh, and so with the obfuscate, you got some abilities to kind of run away a little bit. So there's things that he's really really good at. So he is, to me, I'm not going to really get into combat with him. What I'm going to do is, if I'm blocking, I'm going to basically try to avoid the combat as much as possible, okay. But the good thing is that you can, when you get down to one-on-one at the table with him, is you can block actions, okay. Is that you can block actions and you can keep your boy on the table and rock and roll from there. Our next vampire is Themistocles. Bruja. Camarilla. Themistocles can burn a location as a D action that costs 1 blood. He's got inferior presence, superior aspects, superior celerity, superior fortitude, superior potence. This vampire basically just goes out and beats the crap out of other vampires. I mean, when you're looking at the celerity and the potence, um, you're just, once again, he's just a good vampire to just do that. Just go out and beat things up. It's exactly what he does. This is a vampire killer, and of course, me being an ancient history historian, because if you didn't know that, I'm also a history teacher. Okay, so I get to teach about Themistocles. He's one of my favorite characters in history, so it's just falls in line with me. He's just a good beat down vampire, just a really 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 good beat down vampire. So uh, like him, like him, like him. Our last vampire, and I've saved the best for last. This is the last one we're going to talk about. I would maybe at some time maybe spend an entire episode like I did Zebeda, but Zebeda, I just personally like Zebeda. She's one of my favorite vampires. Okay, but in this format, in this concept, the best vampire to run is Ian Forstat by far and away. Tremere and Tentrabrew, Sabat. Ian may play cards that requires a discipline as though he has the basic level of that discipline. Each master discipline card placed on him gives him the superior level of that discipline. He's got superior aspects, dominate, and thaumaturgy, or as we like to say today, blood sorcery. Ian can play any card. That's just what's great about it. He can play any card out there. And so with that, that means you're opening yourself up to a plethora of things that you can do, a plethora of things, uh, and so that's what's really 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 good about him. Now, there are two cards you're going to want to put into this deck for sure when you're playing Ian, and the first one is going to be Spontaneous Power. Unique Master. Put this card on the vampire and choose a discipline. This vampire gains 1 level of the chosen discipline. While in play, this card counts as a master discipline card. So, what's good about that is now, since he can play the inferior, you're now looking at the fact that he's going to be able to gain a level. Okay? So then the other card then is Infernal Pact, which goes right in hand for a Tremere and Tentrabrew. Unique Master, put this card on Tremere and Tentrabrew. You control and choose a discipline. The vampire with this card can play cards that require that discipline as though he or she is at the superior version of that discipline. Okay? And so now with those cards, you're going to be able to take some of these other cards that you're going to be able to play with, and then just have the whole look. We could break down this in a lot of different ways and stuff. Like I said, this is a whole video thing over Ian. Let's just take something simple, folks. Just make him an Anarch. Think about all the Anarch cards that you're going to be able to play by just making him Anarch. Go Anarch right out of the gate. Go Anarch. Put in all those fun Anarch cards because 90. Well, all of them. They just require the inferior ability, so you can do every Anarch ability out there by just using him. And so all of those cards come into play. Okay, all those great Anarch cards, they're just right there for him. So it doesn't matter. You want to do illegalism, do illegalism. Okay, all right. So all of a sudden, you're going to bleed and you're going to unlock. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that. Just bleed and unlock, right? Okay, sounds like a fun thing to do to me, right? Okay, you want to do an undo influence? There you go. Do an undo influence. Okay, so just you get now all of those Anarch cards come into play because, like I said, they're all of them are at that inferior ability. And don't forget now you've also got the defensive cards and the modifier cards. You got the crime with ink and stuff like that. So he can just simply break things wide open for you. This is a fun vampire to build around. Okay, he is most suited for this format. Okay, I know he's an easy one to use, and so that's why I usually pick other vampires to play because once again, I'm trying to always test myself and get in those abilities. But Ian is fun. So if you've never done it, if you've never played with him, play with him. He's just a good, fun vampire. Like I said, he just does everything because of his abilities. Well, folks, I appreciate you watching. I thank you for tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed these last 4 episodes on this idea of the one vampire crypt. Once again, just to have some casual fun. And even if you don't like the philosophy of doing that, then at least maybe you saw some cards that can help you, and we'll go from there. I appreciate you watching. Y'all take care.
You watched the whole video? Congratulations. Hey, thanks for tuning in to Reading Between the Lines. I'm your host, The Water Dog, and if you like what you've been watching, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Y'all take care.